to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast.
Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to be here today and to start off on another venture. We have an amazing guest. And as you know, I'm Laura with ODAA Virtual Assistant Agency, or ODA was my nickname. And we are an agency with virtual assistants and project management that are here to help small businesses be able to get the staff they need for in the moment for what they're doing in their growth. So if you're a small business that's growing or you need to delegate some work out because it's just too much, that's what we're here to help out with.
Awesome. And I'm Angelique with Lady Firehouse Solutions, and we are a heart-centered approach to offering project and event management to women entrepreneurs on fire and lighten the world up with their passion and drive to achieve their missions in the most authentic way possible.
Absolutely. So together we are Fempreneur True Confessions podcast. And our mission is to empower women in business and life to live authentically and to support each other. I lost my place. Sorry. Okay. And support each other. So we try not to script it too much, but I got to at least know where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
Instead of competing with each other. And as Angelique and I always touch on, we are competitors per se. We do a lot of the same work, but we're abundance mindset and we don't do the same work. We are different people and how we approach things, how we see things, how we work, but we're wonderful business besties and we're able to say, there's enough for everyone. There's enough. And we don't have to worry about that competition side. So when those questions come up, that's what it is. We are being true to our authenticity about non-compete and supporting women and building communities and being a part of that community for women as we come into business and grow. So
Yeah. What we try to do is model this authenticity through our business and our personal relationships so that it empowers other women to do the same. So really this podcast is about normalizing the struggles and sharing the lessons that we are learning as female entrepreneurs and small business women with the common goal of lifting other women up, not tearing them down, normalizing what it looks like when women succeed at supporting each other, building each other up, and just helping each other use our gifts and passions to fulfill our life's calling. So we hope you are on board with that to help us build, maintain, and grow the sisterhood. Again, as Laura mentioned, with an abundance mindset, and we're always looking to share the struggles and help each other rise to our highest potential. And our guest today is no exception to that.
not at all. So today we have Dr. Debbie Burns. And Dr. Burns is the trusted soul expedition leader for the othered and otherworldly. She teaches soul magic to visionary creators and wisdoms ready to take the tough stands and empower good souls to do great things. They hire her to find themselves again after trauma, cultivate unwavering trust in their authentic expression, intuition, power, and strength in their divine connection. So they have the clarity and direction needed to shine like the mother-effing sun and see their sacred work realized. So there we go.
It's fun to drop the F-bomb, right?
Right from the top. I'm like, it's one of my favorite things to use because it lets you know really clearly who's like cool to jump in camp with me and who's probably not aligned. So look, if the F word isn't your thing, that's cool. I love you. I think that's brilliant and beautiful. In my world, I cuss like a sailor and I love it. I love it.
Me too.
There's something about that word that is just so powerful, and it's not like angry powerful to me. It's just like roar. So anyway,
Yeah.
a little bit about me.
And every time I hear that now, I saw something on social media, a reel or something. Here I am waving my dirty Kleenex around. I was crying earlier, I admit it. And it was this kid, and he was saying motherfucker. And it was the way
he was saying it with some
the way he
swag.
was he was like enjoying the way that word sound. He just like saying it, and I was like, you got it, bro. You got it.
Yes.
And now every time I hear that word, I'm like, I hear his little voice
in the
his
background.
little
I
face.
love that. I love that so much. Growing up, that was not a word that was allowed in my house or in my space. And it was really interesting. And this will probably kind of bleed over into what we're going to talk about today, because there came a point in my life where I was like, why does that word offend me? Let me just pause for a second. Because every time I'd hear it, be like, oh, it's the F word. I'm like, why does that word offend me? And I was like, oh, because I was told it should offend me. And I was like, so what would happen if I just decided it didn't offend me? What if I just chose right now that this word doesn't offend me? And it stopped immediately, like that fast. It never bothered me again. And then married to that, kind of a similar story, Angelique, I had a friend, and she was the one, it was her that got me actually challenging this to begin with, because I met her online and then we met in person, and she's so phenomenal. She's intelligent, brilliant, amazing, compassionate. She just is one of those humans that you just want to be around because their light is so delicious and bright. And so I'm hanging around with her, and she uses fuck all over the place, and she made it sound like cotton candy. And I was like, how is it possible that you could be using this word and it sounds like cotton candy coming out of your mouth? Like, it sounds like something you want to buy at the carnival and eat up. And that led me to she has gotten me to challenge so many belief systems in my life just by being herself. Like, she never had to say, Deb, you should challenge that. She just is herself. And in being herself and in loving herself so powerfully that she allows herself to show up 100% at any table she goes to, she changes my world, because it shows up and it goes, wait a minute, here's this bright, brilliant, beautiful human who believes or does these things that I've been taught are not okay or make people bad or should be ashamed of. How is this happening? So yeah. I love that. I love that. And ever since then, I was like, I want to be one of those. I want motherfucker and motherfucking and fuck. I want all of that to sound like cotton candy. Like, we're having a good time. Like, they're little party favors that we're shooting off. So that's a little bit about I think I've
and is she,
go ahead.
Did you say she was a coach?
No, she was just a friend. This was back in my writing days. So after I left corporate, like, shenanigans happened. I left corporate and I had lost myself wholly and completely during this time, because I was at a place, I'd experienced so much trauma that I was like, I can't function in the outside world. I can barely function, period. And I'm like, what do I do with myself? And I started turning back to writing, which is something I hadn't done for over a decade. It was something that I'd done when I was younger. You know, I was like, I want to grow up and be a writer, but I could never figure that out. So I was like, oh, that's not real.
Same.
Right. And then the world tells you that's not real. They're like, no, you need to be like a teacher or something. So I did what they said I should do, and it didn't work out. Didn't work out. But in diving into that writing, when we moved to Maryland to, again, kind of escape the trauma, I met someone who was like, I was like, what do you do for a living? And she's like, I'm a writer. And I'm like, wait, like a writer, like of novels? And she goes, yeah, I write novels. I'm like, for a living? Like, that's your job? She's like, yeah, that's my job. Anyway, she introduced me to this whole writing world. And because of her, I met this other girl over here at a writing conference that I wasn't like really invited to, but kind of invited myself to. But it ended up being the most incredible, amazing, life-changing experience, just to be around other people who were owning what they love. And in this case, at that time, it was writing and fiction writing, like a whole conference of people that were like, yes, we're doing this as a living. Yes, we believe in this. Yes, we can all be successful in this. And then to meet other women. And this was also my first introduction to women who didn't fight with each other. Right. Where it wasn't this catty. I always believed that, oh, I'm just better suited to have guy friends than girlfriends, because girl things just didn't seem to work out for me. And I realized later in life, I just didn't have the right girlfriends. That's all. Like, women are phenomenal. They're amazing. Yeah. You can get along with them. This girl's been my friend for over a decade now, which is the longest I've had a friend in my whole life. And just an incredible woman, human, mother, wife, person, soul, like all of the above. And I value and appreciate that. So yeah, she was a friend that I met in my writing days, as if they're over. They're not. I'm still writing. I have a book coming out in the fall, which I'm super excited about. Yay. This is a fiction novel. It's so good. It's dark.
Really?
But anyway, that's a whole other story. That's another life. The Secret Lives of Deb. I have like 5 of them. But yeah, it was a woman that showed me how to challenge my world and showed me what real friendship looked like and taught me that we could work together to build something beautiful. I think the world kind of pits us against each other. Like there's only enough room for 5 of us. And that's not real. There's enough room for all
but
of us.
I think it comes from, when women entered the workforce and they're moving up the ladder, right?
Mhm.
And at first they hit that glass ceiling.
Mhm.
And then eventually they're like, oh, well, we have to hire, so many minorities and women. And we have to have so many of those. And so now women are vying for those 1 or 2 spots and they're competing with each other.
Right. In a way that
Instead of
doesn't
helping
exist
each other.
anymore. Right? Like that used to be the narrative. And I know in some industries that's still problematic and we're still fighting that. But it used to be the narrative, like factories, when the world came back from killing each other and they're like, oh, we need to give all these jobs to men. There wasn't anything for women. So the one spot they had, we did have to fight for. We don't live there anymore, people.
No.
Our culture, like our programming still lives there. But the reality is not there anymore. And we've got to fight the programming in order to allow space for all of us and to allow space for all of us in our authentic way. Like I love how you guys talk about like showing up in authenticity. Women don't look the same. I am so angry right now about these fucking debates about what a woman is. Cause I'm like, who are you to step into my world and tell me what a woman is? Why do you get to define for me who I am? Like we've been dealing with this for centuries, like people trying to define what women get to be. I'm like, no more. No more. You don't get to step in my world and I don't get to step in your world. You do woman your way. I'll do woman my way. And I get to be a quote unquote real woman and you can be a quote unquote real woman. And both of us can exist. All of us can exist in the ways in which we show up in the world and everybody's going to be fine. I'm like, more people need to breathe. I'm like, y'all need to breathe. You're really stressing out. Just breathe.
Okay. So yesterday I was listening to a podcast and it was a woman talking about past life regression. And she is a psychologist and she got into past life regression. And she says, you know what I hear the most from people's guides? Relax, chill out, take a breath. Okay. Like if your past life guides are saying that to you, come on.
Yes.
And then back to the profanity. So much of the profanity, and Glennon Doyle has a fantastic podcast on this. If you don't listen to Untamed by Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach, and they have some fabulous guests on there. But one of her podcasts last year, maybe even the year before, she was pissed. She's like, why is pussy a derogative?
Right.
Like, why is a pussy? That's what you call somebody when you think they're weak.
Right.
Pussy is not weak, y'all.
Right?
We birth babies. Okay. Pussy's the strongest shit out there.
Yes.
Women control men with their pussy.
You know what's fascinating if you look at the history of that word, because I went down the rabbit hole. It actually comes from an ancient Roman or Spartan term that means little boy. Like that was the original connotation, is that when they would bring these boys to train them up to battle, if they were acting like a young child, they would call them this word. And it's not pussy, it's like a Latin version of it. But it's like they would call them this word to be like, you're being a little kid. You need to like grow up and like do what needs to be done right here. And then that word, I mean, it just has gone through these iterations during time. It became a pet name for a period of time. And then all of a sudden we're using it as a derogatory term. And it's like, okay, and we've in modern day have connected it to the female body, right? We've made it, because then we use those things like, oh, you do that like a girl. Oh, stop being a little girl. Like, we make that an insult.
Stop being a little bitch.
Yeah, stop being a little bitch. I'm like, the last time I heard it was the last time I heard it, because he hasn't either said it in front of me again or he's changed his ways. Because I heard my brother say to his son, stop being a little girl. And I was like, you need to shut your mouth right now. And he was like, what are you saying? I'm like, because what you're saying, the message that you're sending to your daughters is that they are weaker than your sons, that somehow in him expressing emotion, there is weakness here. And that weakness is your daughter. And he's like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, that's exactly the message you're sending.
That's exactly what you're saying.
When you tell your sons not to act like little girls. If you want to tell him not to act like a baby, that's between you and him. I still don't think that's healthy. But at least we're just like relating it to being a younger version of himself versus like trying to use being a girl as a derogatory statement. Like, that's just not, I'm like, that's not okay. Like I said, he hasn't said it again. I don't know if it's because of me and he's scared of me or because he changed his ways, but I'm like, that's the kind of stuff that sometimes I look at it, team, and I'm like, I look at some of my brothers. I love them. Bless their hearts. I love them so much. But I'm like, how did we grow up in the same family? Like, I'm like this fire raging, like feminist, and not in the man hating kind of way, but in the way that I'm like, we all deserve to pursue happiness in the way that is in alignment with us. Yeah. Without anyone else coming in from the peanut gallery and giving us their chicken shit. Like, we just deserve that. Men, women, young people, old people, like everyone on every spectrum just gets to pursue happiness. Like, why is that so hard? And yet I have these brothers who are a little stuck in kind of like ancient culture. Can I say it that way? Like, conservative culture, like men do this, women do this. I'm like, nah, dude. I don't know how you ended up with me as your sister, but let's go. Let's go. I will pin you against the rope.
And let's clarify too, because feminism isn't about hating men.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
That's not the point.
No.
Hey, aw.
Yay, thanks, Patricia. Am I allowed to interact with people?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, well, all right. Well, let's dig into it, because this is so timely, because our last guest, she at the end of it, she talked about her personal like little pet project right now is her self-care club, and she has a self-care club with some girlfriends, and they just kind of hold each other accountable for taking time to take care of ourselves. And I love that. And so the topic of radical self-love is really timely. It's also really timely because I had a bit of a breakdown yesterday, where all the little things just pile up until this one little thing happens and you lose it, and giving myself grace through that.
Absolutely.
Right. And so set the scene for us for this. You had suggested talking about radical self-love because you've been dealing with long COVID, and you had to reset the rules yet again. And there are probably plenty of people on here that don't know what the yet again means, but we can get into that if you want to. But, you talk about how you really only have this small window of time, maybe an hour or two a day, that you're really high functioning, and having to adjust and alter the expectations, not only that we have of ourselves, but mitigating what others expect of us, and creating a reality that fits us, not everybody else. So talk to us. I'm especially, me, I am especially interested in this because I need some more advice.
Absolutely. From the top, let's just define radical self-love, because I remember when I was getting my honorary doctorate, someone come down the line asking everyone what they do, and she got to me and she's like, "What do you do?" And I'm going to own from the top, it was very weird to go through this whole process of receiving an honorary doctorate for my body of work when I'm like, what I do is radical self-love. Like, that's the basis. Now, you heard my introduction. I do all of these things. I help you find yourself again. I help you cultivate trust. I help you connect deeply with your divine. And at the foundation of all of that is love, 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 love. And when I say radical self-love, so when she comes by and she's like, "What do you do?" And I tell her that I'm into this whole love game. And she's like, "Oh, I don't need that," and keeps moving. And I was like, that was a very interesting interchange. And it took me aback for a moment because I felt in the moment what I felt was shame. I had to move through that. That's not hers. That's not mine. We're just going to let it go. But what it really reminded me of is this idea that so many of us think we know love up here, right? We're like, oh, I got it. Yeah, I know how to love myself. I'm going to get in a self-care club. I'm going to do a thing. And all those things are good, right? I'm going to prioritize myself. I'm going to whatever. What I'm talking about when I'm talking about radical self-love, I'm talking about dropping that down into the body and soul, where we know even when we make mistakes that we are worthy of love. Even when we can't meet the expectations, we are worthy of love. Even when we're in full on breakdown, crying on the floor, like snot coming out of our nose, we are worthy of love. And even when we've like maybe offended or messed up the whole world or broke things that we can't fix, that we are worthy of love, that radical self-love that incorporates justice, mercy, grace, compassion, like all of those things combined into one. So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about radical self-love. And why I think it's so important is because it is the foundation. I really believe it is the foundation that empowers us to keep moving forward when everything falls apart. Because if we don't have love for ourselves, if we can't grasp our worth and our value, it makes it more difficult. I will never say impossible, but it makes it infinitely more difficult to keep seeking the tools and the processes and the systems and the help that will move us forward when life is a shit show. Okay, so radical self-love there. And getting into the pieces, the other thing I want to share is like, I think everybody is going to experience what I call a shattering at some point in their life, whether that's a huge life-altering, universe like bending, shattering, or the tiny little broken hearts that we get along the way as we interact with the world and as we interact in relationship. Because if you think you can get out of life without having had to have mingled with humans and not being hurt by humans, we really got to talk, because I just don't see that happening. To connect. And that's what we're designed for. Biologically, spiritually, we are designed for interdependence. So to connect is to be vulnerable. And to be vulnerable is to be shattered or broken at various points in time. So understanding that shatterings are going to happen, and that in the shattering, we need to be present with rewriting the rules and understanding what our current world means to us is absolutely vital. It's vital to our mental and emotional health, to our progress, and really to our peace, right? Because the world can be falling apart around me, but how do I hold peace in that? And I'm going to be real right now, because that's what this podcast is about. That's not always possible. Sometimes you've got to get on the floor and sob your eyes out and go through 2 boxes of Kleenex because it hurts. And the idea that we shouldn't hurt because I got to be strong, so I'm just going to push this way. Actually, we were talking about this before we got on the call, and I'm going to say it again here. Anyone out there that is telling you that you just have to push through it, like, and treating you as though, you just got to push through it and then it's going to be fine. To me, that says you have never experienced chronic pain or physical or mental illness. If you haven't been in that category, please don't show up in my world and feed me this bullshit of I just got to push through, because that's exactly what it is. It's bullshit. It's bullshit, and I'm tired of it, and I'm over it, and you have no right. No right. Bring it back. Bring it back. I'm like, I'm about ready to cut a bitch.
He's like looking in the camera and pointing.
I'm like,
somebody
no
out there.
right. So you need to shut your damn mouth. That's what I'm going to say. Not to you guys, to the people who are out there telling people to push through, because those of us who have been through serious, like life-altering, physical, mental, emotional situations, like I said, whether that's physical health, spiritual health, mental health, that shit is hard. That is hard. And it happens kind of like it can happen in waves. You know, we were talking about this. There's an up and down to it. Some moments we have it. We're like, we got this and we can move forward. And other times we just don't. We just don't. So if there's 3 things I can give you today, I want to give you a belief to stop thinking. Like, if you can stop thinking this right now, you will be farther ahead. The first one I want to give you, the belief that I need you to stop thinking, is that I can get back to the way that it was. when life shatters, when life changes, what we tend to do is go, oh, I know who that person was over there. Like old Angelique or old Debbie or old Laura, we could do all the things. We could show up for 60, 70, 80 hours a week. We could hold your shit and my shit and their shit and their shit. And we could give all the advice and do all the things and bring all the chocolate. And like we could hold the whole world together with crazy glue and our muscles, right? Like, so we look at that person and we go, oh, I just need to get back there. I just need to get back to her, the one that could do all the things. But what we don't recognize is that in the shattering, we have been deeply, intrinsically, is that the right word? Reordered. Like we have been changed from the inside out. And I'm not going to label that a bad thing. But we have been drastically changed from the inside out. I have gone through trauma. I have gone through robberies. I have gone through long COVID. And every single time, there has been a whole reordering going on inside of my system that makes it impossible to be the human that I was before because my trajectory is different. My experience is different. My understanding is different. My worldview is different. My capabilities are different. And as long as I keep holding on to that person and judging myself, and let's be really clear, we're not judging ourselves only against what we were. We're judging ourselves against the idea that we hold of what we were. We judge ourselves against the perfect model of what we were. And we keep fighting to get back there and judging our stuff now, our capabilities now based on her. So the first thing we got to do is we got to let go of that. Like whatever that looks like to you, like if you need to have like a burial, like if you need to have like a eulogy where you like put her in the ground and you grieve this human that you were before, go ahead, do that, grieve them and then let them go so you can choose into who you are right now, not who you were before life fell apart. Angelique, I think you were going to say something.
It's just in my mind, it kind of reminds me of all the comparison that we do to other people, only we're doing it against ourselves.
Yes.
And I actually just had a conversation with Laura before, before we went live. And I said those exact words. I just want to get back to having the same energy and capabilities that I had before the accident. And so that's a hard pill to swallow because I do want that back, and putting that to rest. And I do compare myself against that person. Like I used to be able to do this and this and this and this, and I just want to be able to do those things again.
Yeah.
And then there's definitely a grieving process there.
Absolutely. And it's okay to want those things. I want to be very clear. What we need to bury is the comparison and the expectation that I will ever get back to be her in the same exact way. What we're looking at now is like, okay, Angelique, right now, having been through an accident, this is my capability. I want to get back to more. And what will that look like for this Angelique? And what will the journey be for this Angelique? And can I have grace and patience for my body in the process of healing? Because as long as I'm gripping tightly to this person over here and this version of me and this version of my life, there is no room to hold grace and patience and love for ourselves in the process of healing so that we can get back to a version of that. Who I am now post robberies is infinitely different than who I was before. And I love me. Like I look at who I am now and I'm like, because I was willing to choose into the journey of healing that current Debbie needed to be on, and I let go of that expectation, it opened up the world to like, maybe I don't have to be like this. You know what? Maybe I don't have to carry everybody's shit. Maybe that's not actually a good thing to have to hold everybody's stuff for them.
Yeah.
Maybe I can let them hold it for themselves and I can just be like, good job. You got this. You can make it happen. I don't have to do it. And it allowed me to become a human and to create a life that I love so much more than when I was that girl before. So every shattering gives us an opportunity to look around and go, what are the pieces that I want to keep? What are the pieces that I want to throw away? And which ones are the ones that need to be rewritten to something more powerful and serving to me? So of course, I don't want you to let go of, I want to have energy again. And maybe there's something we can rewrite in the process of like, what do I really want my energy for? Is it really so I can work 80 hours a week? Like, is that really what I want my energy for? Or do I want energy to have more life? Do I want energy to have more love? Do I want energy to have more joy? And if those are the things that I really want, how can I give that to myself now? If I want energy for joy, then what is the joy I'm denying myself in this moment? Because I have to wait until things are better. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, what is that
Yeah.
happiness? What is that thing? And then we're going to allow it to come to us in tiny bites. We don't have to eat the whole pie at once. We can just take a tiny bite of that pie and go, that pie is good. And I'm going to eat it in tiny bites as I can. Or whatever it is you guys like. Chocolate pie, ice cream, something healthy, I guess. No, just kidding.
Oh, no, I love me some cake.
But that's what we're talking about. So I never, ever want you to give up on the things that you desire. What it is a renegotiation with those things to go, what is actually accessible to me right now? And what am I denying myself right now because I think I have to be that girl over there to make this happen? That's where the radical self-love comes in to go like, hey, doesn't matter. I don't have any energy. I can only, because like talking about long COVID, that has been a mind fuck for me. It really, really has, because there's nothing that I can't look at people and go, I have cancer, I'm in chemo. Like there's nothing outward expressing. Not that struggle is a comparison. Struggle is not a comparison. Everybody gets to have their own struggle. We don't need to compare. Okay. It just, the mind fuck is there's nothing outward facing. And that can be true in chronic illness. That can be true in chronic mental health. That can be true in faith transition, which is also incredibly shattering. Like it can be true in all those things where outwardly there's nothing expressing that can be like, oh shit, you got your arm cut off. I can see why your whole world has to change, right? When it's all going on the inside, we feel like we have to somehow prove it or excuse it, or it's not okay for us to be the way that it is. So long COVID puts fog in my brain and robs me of energy. So I have 60 to 90 minutes a day. It's been increasing over the last little bit in certain tasks. I'm like, oh, I can do this task for this long. And that's very exciting for me. But I have to be careful. I was telling you before we got on the call that like showering for me can take up hours of energy. So I have to plan the days that I shower, knowing that if I shower that day, I might not be doing anything else, or I might be doing one tiny other task because I have nothing left to give. So for example, I knew I was getting on this podcast today. That meant I slept in, I showered, I'm podcasting. I have no expectations for myself for doing anything else after I get off this call. Today, that's where all my energy needed to be, was in this piece. And that has to be good enough. But that can feel really unhappy because it's like, no, I know who I was. I was just getting better. Like right before long COVID, I'd been doing neurofeedback. We'd been getting my brain back online. Like I had gone from working a couple hours a day to 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Like all of a sudden, like things were connecting again. Like they hadn't been during my, like the height of my PTSD. Like neurofeedback was a godsend to me on helping my emotional and mental body come back together and work with me instead of feeling like I was constantly working against me. And then COVID hit, and long COVID decided to take up residency inside my body, and all the work that I had done got erased. All the advancements that I had made were gone. And so, yeah, the last year has been incredibly difficult. It's brought my business almost to a screeching halt. I was helping to run my husband's business, so it brought his business to a screeching halt. It's impacted us in like financial and relationship, and like it's the gift that keeps on giving.
I'm given, yeah.
And so it's been a whole new exercise for me, in reaching for that next level of radical self-love. To be like, I know we got there from the robberies. I know we got there through the hospitalization. I know we got there to that place of radical self-love where you thought you couldn't be shaken. And then long COVID came in, and it's done its damage and continues to do its damage. And so now I'm at a new layer of, again, what I shared with you, letting go of the girl I was before so I can just honor and love and accept and have grace for the girl that is here now. Which brings me into the second thing I want to share with your people is that the behavior. So there's a belief we need to stop with. I can't get back to who I was. Stop it. There's a behavior we need to stop. And that is fighting the fallout. We have to stop fighting ourselves when the undoing comes upon us. Like you were talking about, you had your come apart yesterday, right? So many of us are trained to fight it, to push it down, to get rid of it or move through it super fast. Or like we're taught that it's bad and that it's wrong and that it shows that we're weak or it's getting in the way of trying to accomplish other things. And I'm going to tell you right now that the more we fight the fallout, the longer it takes us to actually recover. In my mind, it looks like an undercurrent in the ocean. Like I think they're called riptides. I'm gonna have to do the research, but the undercurrent where it like grabs you and pulls you under. And one thing I was always taught growing up as I went out into the ocean was if you get pulled under by the wave, don't fight it, flow with it. And if you flow with it, you'll pop back up, you'll be able to breathe. But the more you fight it, it'll keep you under and you can drown. And it's the same thing when we're dealing with the come aparts that show up as we navigate, especially in this space, entrepreneurship. I don't know a refiner's fire more intense than entrepreneurship. Like you are faced with your demons, your gremlins, your weaknesses every single day, every single motherfucking day. You're like, oh, thank you for showing me again. Like here's a problem. Here's a gap. Here's a thing. It can also show us our power. I want to make sure we're all very clear on that. Entrepreneurship can also show us what we're capable of and the power that we're capable of and the great things we're capable of. So that all exists there. But if we fight the fallout that comes as we ride those waves of entrepreneurship, then we just end up drowning ourselves. We end up staying under the water longer than we need to. I learned very early on through the PTSD, which is helping now with the COVID, that if I just worked with it, meaning if it was a down day, we call them couch days in my family. If it was a couch day, it's a couch day. Give yourself permission to have the couch day. If it's a come apart day, give yourself a permission to have the come apart. If you need to cry, give yourself permission to cry. Whatever it is that your body and soul are asking for, body, mind, heart, soul, like all of the pieces, like they're telling you something. They're telling you you're sad. They're telling you they're tired. They're telling you that just like you, they're frustrated. So why are we shaming ourselves? Why? Why are we doing what other people have done to us? Can we stop carrying forward the voices and we tell ourselves, oh, that's my voice. It's not your voice. Because your highest self would never shame you. Your highest self would never tell you that there's something wrong with you or that you're broken or that you should be ashamed, because shame makes us small. It makes us pull back and want to hide. That's not what your highest self wants for you. Your highest self wants you to expand. It wants your growth. It wants your power, your shine, your light to come forth, right? So that voice isn't yours. That voice is someone from the past or a conglomeration of voices from the past that has learned how to echo or sound like yours. And we got to start calling it on the carpet. That's bullshit. That's not mine. Because my voice wants me to be empowered. And right now in the fallout, the greatest power we can give ourselves in the fallout is that love and grace. And that space to let it happen. That space to let it happen. Okay. Just let the tears come. Move forward. At the end of the big cry, then you can ask yourself, what do you need right now? And your body will be like, I might need rest. I might need a walk. I might need chocolate. Hey, I'm good. I'm ready. Let's jump back into work. Let's go. And the more we listen to that, the easier it will be to get the shit done that we didn't think we could get done while we were like comparing ourselves to our old self. Because I'm telling you, in my mind, what it looks like is like cloud cover will come in, like it's a big storm, and I'm just hunkering down in the storm. And then the clouds will part and sunlight will come through. And I've learned in those moments that the sunlight comes through, I'm like, what can I do in this moment? I have it. There's light. I have it. Let's go. Am I putting laundry in? Am I writing a
It's a really good analogy.
Yes. Yeah. Just so powerful. And then when the clouds close back down and the storm's there, then I'm like, cool. What do I need? What do I need in this moment to get me through to the next? Sorry, I'm talking a lot. I'm not giving any space to you guys. Sorry. This is just a conversation. I'm like, rah! I get so passionate about this. Can you guys tell?
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it's exactly what I told Laura. I'm like,
Mhm.
I really need to hear from Deb today. Like, this is perfect timing.
Yay.
It really is. Because
Absolutely.
I did what's your one day called?
Oh, magical as fuck.
Yes, magical as fuck. So I did one of those, and one of the things that I became aware of was that the story I was telling myself was that I had to work harder and longer
Yeah.
than anyone else to be successful. And it was just something that I was brought up hearing,
Mhm.
that if you wanted to make a difference, or be just, you had to work harder and
Yep.
longer than anybody else. You had to be willing to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you didn't have to, but you had to be the one to go, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I don't have the capacity, energy wise, to do that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the one hand, it is frustrating, but on the other hand, it's kind of a relief too, to be honest.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's nice to not have to hold the whole world. It's nice not
Yeah.
to save the whole world. Like,
Yeah.
there is power in that.
Like we could anyway.
Yeah, but we could. Yeah, exactly. Nobody here is capable of saving the whole world.
Right.
I love that. But we tell ourselves we are, and we're
Mhm.
conditioned to. And I
Yeah.
love that you call out the program, because, like, when it comes to shifting our world, understanding the story that's underlying it becomes profoundly powerful, because most of us just accept. I think I sent this out in a newsletter recently. I was thinking about culture, and I'm like, culture paints us an ocean and puts us in an inner tube and sets us adrift in the ocean. It's like, this is the world. See this ocean, see all the monsters in the ocean. This is reality. And when we don't bump into anybody else, we accept that this is reality. And we think that it's everybody's reality. And this goes back to my friend at the top of the call. It was so profound to bump into her inner tube and to actually accidentally end up in her ocean and be like, oh my gosh, this is not the way it has to be. Because we
Yeah.
think that the program is truth, and the program is not truth. It's simply a program. It's simply a story that culture, family, society, religious, other, like, all of those pieces give to us and say this is truth, and it's not. And when we can challenge it and go, okay, what do I want to take from this? And that's why I think picking up each piece becomes so powerful. It's exhausting. I'm gonna let anyone know right now, when you start picking up pieces of your shattered world, it is exhausting. So please, love, grace, patience. Okay. But when you pick it up, it's really empowering to start going, wait a minute, this thing right here, working hard. What do I want to keep? What do I want to throw away? Because I don't even have to keep or throw away the whole thing. This isn't all or nothing. I can say, you know what? I like having a strong work ethic. Going to keep that part. Strong work
Yeah.
ethic is good for me. But this bullshit of, like, I have to be willing to do anything to get stuff done, especially in, like, context of what my body is capable of, that's bullshit. That doesn't serve me. I'm going to get rid of that. That's not mine. And
Mhm.
now I can write a whole new program or a whole new story that's like, I have a strong work ethic that is balanced beautifully with taking care of my health and my body.
Mhm.
Right? Like, we get to do that.
Yeah.
And that is, like, game changing.
I just said those words. That's why I'm breathing heavy, because I just said those words to Laura.
Mhm.
Yes.
Like, yes, that's where I was yesterday. It was like, I'm just gonna have to do whatever it takes. Be anything. I'm gonna do anything it takes to get to this end.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
Yeah.
in there.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of us do. I think any entrepreneur watching this podcast will go, I know what you're talking about. I've had those moments. I've had those. Okay, maybe not any. I think there's a small 5% that love the Gary Vee old school. And he even changed his message, right? Because he used to be like, go, go, go. You do whatever it takes. You do whatever it takes. And his message has changed to, like, stop
Yeah.
the toxic hustle culture. But I think the majority of us, being through entrepreneurs and also being human beings on a planet with a whole bunch of other people that get to make decisions, there is like, just an expansive opportunity for shit to happen, right?
Yeah.
For things to fall apart. And so being able to, like, understand what's pushing us and what's driving us, and when to put on the pedal and when to put on the brake, or when to just coast. like, can we just coast sometimes? Why does it always have to be one or other, like break or go or break or
Right.
go or go, 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 go? It's like, you know
Yeah.
what? There's a thing called neutral, and I'm going to find myself a hill, and I'm just going to coast down the hill for a while,
Coast.
because that's what needs to happen. And that's not saying that everything is going to be like hearts and roses. Going through long COVID, adjusting my reality, being real with what I can do each day, finding this deeper level of love that I'm still in the practice and process of, right? That's hard and it's difficult, and it hasn't led to some, like, I don't know, treasure at the end of a yellow brick road or a rainbow. Like, it's not like I've stumbled into a vat of luck that is pouring out all the good things on the planet to me. So we do struggle, and there is difficulty, and there are hard decisions to make around life and our business and all of those things.
Yeah.
I'm just advocating for us making those decisions from a place of radical self-love when we're on the peak, right? Where we're like, I love me, I know me, I believe in me, yes. And we make our decisions from a place of power rather than making our decisions down in the valley when everything is falling apart and we can't even hold our shit together for 2 seconds. Like, that's not the time to make decisions. Every time I give big, I
Right.
just had a magical AF this last weekend. It was phenomenal. They always are. But every time I give big, there is a vacuum that happens on the other side of that where I have a complete come apart, where I'm just like, because I've given so much that it's just
Yes.
like, and I have all this emotion. And you've worked with me, Angelique, so you know that when I give all, and I am in it, and I am connected, and my spirit and your spirit, and like all of that. So, and being an empath like I am, I feel. So imagine me in a room with a bunch of people going through their dark nights of the soul, and I'm picking up on every single dark night. And I'm okay with that. I have things to cleanse me. Don't worry. I have practices in place. But on the other side of that is the vacuum of just like letting the emotion move through me. That's part of the process of just emptying everything that I've experienced, letting it move through me. So Saturday I'm there and I'm like, oh, and I'm having my come apart and I'm sobbing and I don't know what I'm going to do. And Joe's like, he has to remind me, today's not the day for making decisions. We're not going to choose anything today other than what chocolate you want and what you want for dinner and what movie you want me to put on the television. That's all we're going to do. And that's part of like embracing the fallout, is like, I know this is going to happen. So I'm going to grab my whoopee. I'm going to put on my favorite show. I'm going to have my bag, not just like a bar of chocolate, team. I'm talking like he gets me family size, which he kisses with almonds. Like he puts it right next to me. Like that's how we roll on big gift days. But there's power in that, because look, I come back and all of a sudden Sunday, I'm getting downloads in the middle of the night that I'm trying to journal. Monday, I'm like, oh, I'm seeing a whole new like system coming to me because I gave myself the space to allow the fallout to happen. It's so profound and so helpful.
And I wonder how not beneficial, but just like how transformative that would be if we did this on a regular.
Yeah.
Like as a common practice.
Yep. Absolutely. To be paying attention. I try to do a clear out at least once a year around New Year's. Like sometimes you'll see it if you're on my email list. So I'll do like 12 days of cleansing, and it's just like taking out the trash, cleaning things up, and prep for the new year. And it's intense. And I want to speak to that because Patricia pointed out this transformation is also exhausting. Absolutely. Transformation can be exhausting. So like take it in steps. It's not all or nothing. We're going to do some work and then we're going to give some break. I did some serious healing work with a client last night. Deep, deep healing work. And I'm like, you have nothing to do this week except just let it sit and percolate. That's all. I just want you to feed yourself, make sure you have water, take care of you. And if any emotions come up, allow them come through or message me. Right? Because when we do transformative work, and that's why hustle culture gets us all broken. And the way we've been trained up in entrepreneurship gets us all broken, because we think we have to, let's move to the one thing. Now what's the next thing? Now it's okay. I took care of this. Now what's this? I took care of this. And it's like, no. Transformation, we need to choose into it and then give it space to breathe and ourselves time and space to recover. And then choose in again, what's the next layer, and do some of the work. Because you're right. If we just hit it hard, we're going to put ourselves into the ground trying to heal ourselves from the stuff that happened to us. It's like, no. That's not what we're advocating for. Because I love, Patricia, that you brought that up, that transformative work is exhausting. The deep work I do is intense. I don't make any bones about that. Like when we go in, it is intense work. Oh, I loved it. This magical AF, one of the people said, I was like, I checking in midday, and they're like, this was way more intense than I had anticipated. So I'm just sitting with it right now. I'm like, that's cool. You just sit with it. You just like let it get in there. And I think that's important in all these moments. Like your come apart yesterday. I love that you're sharing it. And I love that you're being open and honest about it, because our come apart does not have to mean everything else in our life falls apart. It doesn't mean that Angelique is not an incredible businesswoman, because she is. It doesn't mean she can't serve her clients, because she can and she does. It just means in this moment, I need to let some stuff out. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I had to do something that was really hard for me, which was I had to cancel a coaching call. And I mean, when I commit to doing a call with someone, I don't cancel last minute. 9 minutes to the top of the hour, I had to text her and go, I'm really sorry, I have to cancel today. And no, this isn't one we're going to reschedule. This is canceling. And now this is a coach that I've hired to work with me, not me that I'm coaching. But even that was difficult. But when I did it, I realized what a relief it was that I didn't have to show up and act like everything was okay. And I didn't have to show up and be a mess either.
Yep. I love
I
that
could
you
take the
listen to
night
you.
off.
Yeah. And we need that
Which is
sometimes.
what I did.
Absolutely. I love it. I love that you were like, and I highly encourage that with actually in my world. And I do this purposefully. I design my world so the people that show up have space and grace for me and for them. Because I know with my health that there may be times, like I had a client 2 weeks ago, my brain, it had hit full on COVID fog. There was nothing. It was actually the client that I worked with yesterday. I was like, I'm not going to be able to show up and do the work that is irresponsible of me to do the deep healing work that we're supposed to do in this session. So and in my world, we reschedule. That's just me, because I'm like, if you need to cancel last minute, I know I want grace for that. And you know what? We hardly ever do. But when it happens, I would rather have you listen to your body. I would rather have you listen to your soul and take the space that you need to feel like aligned and whole and ready for the work that we're going to do, than show up in the call and like not be able to like go all in. Right? It's like we are so trained to ignore ourselves, and we're trained that we should be punished if we listen. And I'm like, we shouldn't be punished if we listen. If our body needs something, we should be able to give our body that thing. If our soul needs something, if we need a break, if our emotions need something, we should be able to say yes to us first. I'm going to tell y'all right now, so many of the people out there think they're really bad at saying no. But I'm going to tell you that you're actually an expert at saying no. You're just saying no to you.
Exactly.
And so,
because when you say yes, you're saying no to something else.
Right. It's always good to have that reminder, because you don't always think about it in that moment where you're like, what did I just say no to?
Absolutely.
Then you gotta really, if you're not thinking about it, you just, you say yes to the thing, and then it's all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's what I said no to.
Yep. Okay. Yep. And just being present with it, right? This is about awareness and presence, and just like being present with ourselves. Radical self-love takes a lot of awareness, because we're constantly in conversation with our bodies, whether that's physical, emotional, spiritual, mental. We're in constant conversation with ourselves and our bodies to be like, where are we at right now? What do we need right now? What's in our best service right now? And sometimes best service is I'm going to swallow, because there have been moments where I'm like, my body isn't happy, but I can still give in this moment. My emotional and mental body are there, even though my physical. And so I'm giving. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do my thing. And I know it's going to take me 2 days to recover on the other side. So it doesn't mean that we never do things that are uncomfortable or that are hard. It means that we're in conversation to know when it's the right time to push, and when it's the right time to rest, and when it's the right time to call in the reserves and climb in someone else's wagon and have them pull us for a hot minute down the road. Like, that's all. Radical self-love, I think, is conversation, and it's grace and space to be human and to experience this experience. I know that sounds weird, but just to experience whatever it is that we're going through with the greatest like love that we possibly can for ourselves.
Yeah, because you're using your experience to experience the experience being the verb of the noun, right?
Yeah.
It's not redundant. It sounds redundant, but it's not. So recap again the three for this radical self-love.
For radical self-love, okay? So stop, believing that you can get back to the person that you were. Stop it. Okay. Instead, understand that who you're creating now is incredible and can be stronger than who you ever thought you were before. But we got to choose into who you are now. Okay. I call that courageous acceptance. The next thing is stop fighting the fallout. Okay. So when things come up for you, stop allowing the programs, your past programs, to tell you that you have to respond in a certain way. Instead, I want you choosing space and grace for yourself to work with the fallout as it's happening so you can get back to health faster. That's what we want to do. Okay. And that's like this whole process of recognizing, honoring, listening to our bodies, and then taking action based on what we know is best, not what the people in the peanut gallery knows is best. Because you know what? The peanut gallery, they're not invested in me. Peanut gallery, are you going to show up in my house and make the dinner? Are you going to show up here and hold my tears or hold my shattered pieces? No, you're not. You're going to sit over there. You're going to judge me. So you can shut the fuck up and you can like take yourself out here. You dropped your judgment on the way. Here you go. So
right. And there's a popular quote meme going around that's like, stop taking advice from people who've never done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not qualified.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm not interested. I'm not interested.
From people who haven't been where you are and they're just not qualified.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, if you can't have compassion for my situation, then you don't have space in my world. And Patricia, I absolutely agree. Part of that is surrounding ourselves with incredible, incredible humans, people who can see us and support us. And that's why I say, when we talk about clients, I am very particular on who I draw to me, because I need to know that they have space and grace. Because if they don't have space and grace, we cannot be in space together. Because I'm just going to make you mad and I'm going to hurt your feelings and you're going to be, and it's like, I don't want that for you. I want you to feel absolutely held and taken care of. I want you to feel like when you work with me that you're like, oh my gosh, Debbie just feels like this big hug and she's holding me through all these processes. I'm also like, I'll push you. Don't worry. I'll make you uncomfortable. But I want you to feel taken care of when you're with me. And if taking care of means I can't ever cancel on you, then I'm not your huckleberry, right? Let's just be real about that. So yes, surrounding ourselves with people who can see, understand, and love us for that. And then the third thing about like radical self-love and getting there, at the bottom of all of it, I'm just going to say like 3 relationships that I'm going to encourage you to look at: yourself, your higher power, and your interaction with your purpose. So many times what happens in our purpose or how we interact, especially when we're in the fallout. We have all these stories about, if I really believed in my work, if I really was like committed to my sacred calling then, and we need to let go. We need to let go of that. We need to interact with our sacred calling as though it loves us as much as we love it. Okay. Understanding that our sacred calling also needs to have space and grace for us, and that it won't leave us or abandon us if we can't show up today. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And that's same with higher power. These are the 3 core relationships that, as we work with and strengthen, from courageous acceptance to wondrous partnership to sacred creation and power, like if we work with all 3 of those things, right? Bold expansion. There is a depth of radical self-love that most of the planet isn't tapping into. But I'm going to fight and say, and this is what I said when I went through the interview process of my honorary doctorate, because they were like, why should you be awarded an honorary doctorate? And I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I should. Who am I? I'm just a girl with pink hair. I don't know why I'm even here. How did I get here? Right? Well, I got here because I was nominated. There's a whole process, right? But I'm like, but what I know, what I do think is worthy and deserving of this honor is the work that I do. Because if people knew how to love themselves wholly and completely without condition, if people knew how to share that love outside of them, loving others wholly and completely without condition, if they knew how to share that with the universe, the planet, their world, imagine the difference that this world would feel like and be like if we could all operate from that space of full, whole, and complete love. Because we wouldn't need to have the hate that we have. We wouldn't need to have the fight that we have. We wouldn't need to have like the ridiculous shenanigans across the world, whether that's war, famine, politics. We won't go there, but you know what I'm saying? Like all of that would fade away, because the only question would be is like, what shows love to me and what shows love to the person next to me? Mm-hmm. If we asked ourselves those 2 questions, I think like more than 50% of the shit that we're seeing would go away. I think more like 80%, 90%, because you can't tell me that what you're saying over there that's hurtful and harmful, that shows love to you. It doesn't show love to yourself when you say shit, right? And when you are actively trying to harm other people, whether that's through policies or actual physical violence, that's not showing love to them.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is missing in the world. I think we're missing just this deep, abiding, radical self-love.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that went fast.
It did. Oh my gosh, I went so fast. Thank you so much for having me. And for those that were here live and interacting, I appreciate you with all of my heartbeats. And that's what I want for you. I want that deep, abiding love. Thank you. Thank you for showing up and having conversation today. And Laura and Angelique, thank you for inviting me and just chatting. I adore you. I adore you with every part and particle of my being.
Thank
and I want you both to know.
We adore you.
Oh, thank you. I received that. I want you to know that when I look at your souls, that there is brilliance and there is brightness and there is light, and no amount of exhaustion can hide that or can take that from you. So even when you're tired, your light is shining and you're making a difference in this world. Even when it feels like nothing is going your direction, I promise. The universe is there trying to negotiate the path in front of you to get you where you need to be. Just know that you're loved and you're valued and you're whole and complete exactly as you are, exhaustion, pain, and all. You're beautiful and brilliant. So thank you. Thanks for letting me come today.
Well, thank you for joining us. And also thank you for offering the toolkit that you have for us. Laura, do you have that up?
I do. So Deb is giving her unicorn toolkit. It's 7 tools to keep you creating, especially when the mental gremlins want you to stop. So we do have a link for that. That will be in the show notes. And this is really a mental health toolkit to help us manage the slew of unhealthy emotions and thoughts that we can experience during times of intense creation. Some of my favorite go-to tools to keep my brain, body, and spirit clear of the yuck.
Yes. So thank you for that. That I can't wait to. I'm hopping on that.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we like to do here on the podcast to show support for other female entrepreneurs is we have the current guest introduce the next guest, and next week's guest actually lives right in the hood here with me here in Florida, and her name is Paulette Cintron. So Debbie, take it away.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for you guys. And Paulette coming in. Paulette likes to say she was born in New York, but Puerto Rico raised her. Her adventures brought her to Florida in 2003. She is a creative mommy of 3. She began creating as an outlet to escape reality, but quickly realized she could add happiness to the world with her creations. I love creators. Yes. Creativity has become a core value in her life. She discovered her artistic life in 2015 and has had her art featured in galleries and local small businesses. She and her 11-year-old daughter create intentional crystal jewelry together, and her husband is a glass blower. Ooh, so much creativity in the family. Her dream is to one day make their creativity a family venture. She has fallen in love with glass blowing and is excited to see where this new creative journey takes her. She sounds amazing.
Yeah, looking forward to getting to know her better. And so the only announcement we have this week is don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. If you're not already on the email list, we give out weekly sneak peeks for upcoming guests. That's the only place you're going to see that. And we're also adding a monthly email that's full of basically just a recap of the previous month's guests and what the toolkit that you're offering and things like that. It's all going to be in one place. As we haven't sent one of those out yet, but that's this month. It's starting this month. So at the end of this month, we'll send that out. And I think that is it. So thank you all for tuning in, and be sure to join us again next week live. We're live on Tuesday afternoons between 3 and 5 Eastern time, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Bye, everyone.